Video kung paano mag-sculpt ng chocolates in Mudbox and Maya. So, this is our sample output, and then I'm gonna show you step by step kung paano siya ginawa. Okay, so let's get started. So I'm gonna click New sa Maya. So the first thing you need to do is maybe you should go to Pinterest. Tapos you can look at some certain pegs that you want to try out. So here I have a pinboard na chocolates. So as you can see, I just collated a couple of images on KitKat. Also, we have here mga Twix bars. As you can see here, ang shape niya is basically parang cube. Tapos meron tayong outer chocolate and then meron din tayong parang inner part ng chocolate natin. So as you can see here, parang may mga ridges tayo sa ating chocolate bar. So yan, pwede natin gawin yan sa Mudbox. Okay, so let's get started. So here's Maya. I'm gonna create a plane. And then let's make this bigger. And then here, as you can see, marami tayong subdivisions. Bawasan natin siya. So let's just go to object mode. And then let's go to our channel box. Because here's a polyplane. I'm just going to reduce this to maybe 4. And as you can see. And then we can just rotate this on its side. So 90. And then basically I'm just going to select the faces over here. And then let's delete it. Ayan. And then tapos, basically, pwede natin siyang liitan konti. As you can see. And then we can just select all of the faces. So let's just select all of the faces. And then under modeling toolkit, you can now click extrude. And then let's try to pull this away. As you can see. So ito yung ating outer chocolate. Okay, yan. Oops. Yan, habaan natin yung ating pull away. And then now, we can release this. And then, let's go back to object mode. So here, we just need to add a couple of cuts. So we can do that by going to our mesh tools, tapos insert edge loop tool. I'm gonna click on the option box para may settings tayo para multiple edge loops. So I'm gonna set it to 6. Now, if I click on my polygons over here, automatically 6 cuts ang gagawin niya. Okay, so let's now close this. So next is I'm going to try para magkaroon ng konting arc dito sa atin sa taas. Oops, undo, and so I'm just gonna go to my wireframe view. So I'm gonna press 4, and then I'm gonna go to my vertex, tapos vertex, and then let's just select all of these vertices here. Oops, nakakalik yan. So let's go to our selection tool, and then just move this up. So as you can see, meron tayong ginagawang arch. Para makatulong din tayo, dahan-dahan lahat naka-arch din. Let's also go to our tools here, over here, and then open our soft selection. And let's check this. So as you can see, pag soft selection kasi, if we select our faces, slowly naapektuhan niya yung other vertices as well. So I'm just going to increase yung fall off radius to maybe 4 or 5. Let's try 5 or 6. So ayan. So now if I select all of these vertices over here, when we pull this up, nagro-rotate din yung sa taas. So we can also try to select those at rotate natin siya pataas. So we're just trying to create a arc for our chocolate. Oops, we missed one vertex. So let's just select that again. Oops. So be very, very careful. Ayan. So ayan. Like so. Para lang meron tayong arch for our chocolate bar. So ayan, as you can see, ito lang habol natin. So let's just go back to object mode, and then here we can also just unselect our soft selection for the tools. At pwede na natin to isend sa Mudbox. Okay, so bago natin isend sa Mudbox, let's do a trial run. So let's just click on smooth and tignan natin yung effect ng ating polygon. So as you can see here, gusto natin tong part na to, kaso nga lang medyo masyado siyang nagte-taper pa paloob. So ang gagawin natin is i-retopologize natin yung ating object. So I'm gonna click on undo until we go back to our base mesh. And then I'm under here, some mesh. Let's click on retopologize. So let's open that option box. And then here I'm just gonna set the settings mga 800. And then I'm gonna check hard edges and also edges by angle. And then I'm gonna click apply. So here you'll just have this window, just click ignore and continue, and then wait just a couple of seconds while it changes the polygon, and then ayun na ating bagong polygons for our object. And then now let's try to smooth this again. As you can see, ito na yung ating edges dito. Medyo hard na yung ating edges for our chocolate. So this can be our outer chocolate. And then for the inner chocolate, we can just add another cube later on. Okay, so for this one, let's just do an automatic UV mapping first before we move it to our Mudbox. So under modeling, under UV, I'm just gonna click automatic. And then when we now check our UV editor, as you can see, oops, and hindi siya nag-automatic pala. So let's try another one. UV automatic mapping. Okay. Automatic settings natin. Reset, apply. There you go. We have all of our UVs naman naka-layout na, as you can see. And then now we are ready to export sa kay Mudbox. Okay. So let's select our object. And then go to File. Tapos here, let's click Send to Mudbox. Then Send as New Scene. Okay, so now it's in Mudbox. Now we can add details to our chocolate. So I'm gonna press W so that we can see our wireframe. So I'm gonna press Shift D and then Shift D. So here, I'm just gonna go back to my reference sa ating Pinterest. So dito, we're gonna try to add a couple of ridges sa ating chocolate. Tapos at the same time, here sa gilid natin, let's add some detail as well. So here, I'm just gonna click on my Sculpt brush, and then I'm gonna try one random brush over here. So let's try this one. And then I'm gonna increase the brush size by pressing open bracket. Ayan. And then we're just gonna try and see kung okay yung ating brush. So as you can see, masyadong kulang pa ang ating subdivisions. So what we can do is add some more. So Shift D, Shift D. So now we are at level 3. Try natin again. So as you can see, yan ang ating ridges for our chocolate. So let's try to also modify that. Here on our strength, I'm just gonna reduce it to maybe 5 or 4. And then let's increase our brush size. Tapos try natin i-brush ng ganun. So as you can see, I'm just trying to add a couple of ridges sa ating chocolate. And then let's also add sa gilid. Like so, and then here as well. So you can try to experiment with other brushes as well. And then also at the bottom. So pwede rin naka-angle yung ibang ridges para hindi masyadong perfect. Ayan. And then we can also add some ridges here sa ating side. So let's try to reduce the brush. Oops. masyadong matapang. Let's just make this 2. So ayan, just adding details. And then here as well, let's try to increase the brush para magkaroon ng variation. So basically, we're just trying to copy yung ating peg over here. And then I can also add some more detail here. So I'm gonna add some more division. So I'm gonna press Shift D. We are now at level 4. I can add maybe try some of the other brushes here. So maybe let's try this one. Okay, or this one as well. So kayo bahala. Basically, I'm just trying to add some roughness sa ating chocolate para hindi siya parang 100% perfect. So ayan. And also here. So ayan, as you can see, may konting parang ridges lang yung ating chocolate. Para hindi siya masyadong smooth sa ating surface. Ayan. And then also let's add some here as well. And also at the bottom. So dito naman di masyadong makikita to sa ating render. So kahit hindi masyadong details dito sa baba. Okay, so now, what if we want to embed like the brand of our chocolate here sa taas? So I'm gonna show you how to add a stencil for our 3D object. So first, we need to go to Photoshop. So as you can see, here's a stamp tool natin and stencil. Most of our images are in black and white. So ang gagawin natin is a black and white image. And then siguro we'll add, kunyari itong Hershey, itong ginamit natin before. Excuse me. So we're gonna create another one of those. So let's go to Photoshop, open Photoshop, and then let's create a new file. And then here I'm gonna create a file that is in size na 20 by 48, and then 20 by 48. Basically a 2K image. That's what I'm gonna type resolution yung 150, and then I'm gonna click create. I make sure then yung color mode niya is RGB color, and then at the same time 32-bit siya. So ayan. Then click create. So here I'm gonna have the background in black. So I'm just gonna add a solid color to black. So this is our background. And then here I'm just gonna add our text. So for example, we want to have Hershey. Yeah. And then let's make it bigger. So yeah. Okay. So here, let's make this into a smart object. So right click and then convert to smart object. And then we need to blur out our text para hindi masyado siyang jagged for our brush. So I'm gonna select this and then go to filter, tapos Gaussian blur. So blur, Gaussian blur, and then I'm gonna type in siguro mga 3. And then here, as long as medyo blurred na yung gilid natin, that's what we're trying to get. And then we're all good to go. So I'm gonna export this as a PNG and then save it in my desktop here. So I'm gonna name it Hershey and then click save. Now let's go back to Mudbox. So Mudbox, I'm gonna make our Hershey a stencil. So here in our stencil, I'm just going to click on this arrow and then say add stencil. And then I'm going to look for our file here in my desktop, in Hershey, and then I'm going to click open. So, ito yung ating ginamit natin before. I'm just going to delete that para di confusing. So, this is our current stencil na ginawa natin sa Photoshop. So, the next thing we need to do is basically just try to use your controls. sa camera para i-angle yung ating chocolate. And then, make sure sa stamp tab natin, naka-off yung ating mga brushes. And then, nakaset tayo sa sculpt. And then, let's go back to our stencil. And then, sa strength, siguro, gawin natin wag masyado malakas. Nasa 2 lang siya. And then, let's make our brush a bit bigger. And then now, when we brush over our Hershey's, ayan, nag-embed na siya. To make it more softer, under fall off, try nyo mag-experiment with different kinds of fall off. So here, mas smoother siya. Here naman, masyadong harsher on the edges. So it's up to you to experiment which one is the best na output. So, yan. I think masyadong malakas din yung 2. Oops. So, medyo mahirap din siya control sa camera. So, I'm gonna make this siguro 1 lang. Tapos, for those naman gusto, imbis na naka-emboss siya, naka-ukit siya papaloob, you can also do that by typing -1 here. Or, if it's set to -1, you can press Control and then baligtad yung pagkanyang emboss. Yan. Pero for me, I want it to be naka-emboss a little bit. So, let's just make this 0.5. And then, emboss natin siya. Ganyan. Okay. Okay. So, now, let's turn our stencil off. And then, ito yung ating chocolate. Okay. So, if we want to add our inner chocolate, we can create another base mesh in Maya. Tapos, add natin to our scene. So, here in Maya, we can add another polygon. So, I just added a cube. Tapos, here, you can select the cube, make it bigger. Okay. And then, let's zoom in. Tapos gawin natin, let's smooth it out. Tapos, gawin lang natin siyang naka-cover dito sa ating objects. Excuse me. So, we can now add this to our Mudbox scene. So, let's go to File, Send to Mudbox, and then add the current scene. So, now we have our inner chocolate over here. For inner chocolate, pwede natin gamitin yung grab tool and then we can just basically try to cover yung chocolate natin here. You can just grab yung sides niya. Yan, para siya. Nakalapat ng ganyan. Excuse me. And then, let me press W so we can also add subdivisions here. So, I'm gonna press Shift D, and then let's try to roughen up yung ating texture. So we can go to our stamp tool. Let's try different kinds of brushes. So this one brush here. I'm gonna try the sculpt. Masyado pa rin konti yung ating subdivision. So I'm gonna press Shift D again, and then one more. So we are at level 4. Yan, meron na tayong konting detail sa ating inner chocolate. So you can try to add different kinds of brushes, or you can also use another stencil. Tapos, tap nyo siyang ganyan. And then, let's try to reduce the multiplier. Lagawin natin 0.4. And just try to make it like parang wafer na texture. And then once you're finished, we can simply just grab this and then duplicate it. And then once that is duplicated, we can just literally move it to the other side. Okay. We can, one side lang ata yung may texture, so we can just also rotate it. Yan. And then move it here. Yan. So just in case if you want to add some caramel, pwede kayo maglagay ng mga spheres dito. Tapos just try to stretch it out. So um, let's go to Maya. Tapos here, excuse me again. I'll duplicate this. Make it smaller. Basically, I'm just going to just try to fit it inside here. Tapos later, we'll just stretch it out. So, ang gagawin ko, excuse me, I'm gonna duplicate this a couple of times. So, para lang may rough shape kayo for a caramel na melt. Yan. And then one more, siguro. And then what we're gonna do here is we're gonna combine these 3 or 4. Yan. So one more. Ayan. So ito yung gagamitin nating mesh para sa caramel. Tapos hihilahin natin siya sa Mudbox. So let's select all of these. And then we're gonna go to mesh. And then booleans. Tapos select union. So ngayon it's gonna be all combined. But as you can see, sira yung sila yung topology nito in some areas, as you can see here. So that will be solved by our retopologize command again. So let's go to our mesh, retopologize, go to our option box. This is okay. I'm gonna uncheck hard edges and edges by angle, and then click apply. And then as you can see now, inayos ni Maya for us ito. But we need to do one more step because as you can see, the original shape is still here. It's in color pink. Ang gagawin natin dito is we need to flatten it out para wala na siyang any remnants of our old model. So to do that, we need to go to edit, delete by type, and then history. And then yan na yung ating model. Naka-flatten out na. So now, we can now send this to Mudbox again. So file, send to Mudbox, tapos add to current scene. So here, ito na yung ating object. So we can select it and then move it here. Tapos, we can literally just try to grab it para magkaroon siya ng konting parang caramel na nag-melt sa ating chocolate. So we can click on our grab tool. And then just try to shape our caramel like so. Let's add some more subdivisions. And basically just try to sculpt it to our scene. So yeah. So you can also try to add a couple of other ingredients like nuts and etc. So here, while we're sculpting this, I'm gonna also show you another tool in Mudbox, which is yung refine and reduce tool and remesh tool. So these are the brushes over here. So as you can see here, pag sinistretch kasi natin siya all the way out, nasisira yung ating mesh. So one thing that you can do pag masyadong malayo yung sinistretch nyo is you can refine it. So if I click on refine and then I brush it on my object, it's gonna ask me, okay, cannot be tessellated, it contains at least one of the following. So basically, ang gagawin lang niya is it's gonna convert this mesh into a triangle or parang triangles imbes na quads. I'm gonna click on OK. And then as you can see, if you zoom in, mga triangles na siya. And then if we stretch this out some more, ayan, mas smoother na siya. And then we can continue to just refine this. Kunyari, if we need to add some more depth over here. So ayan. And then also we can try remesh. It's also, I think hindi na gumagana yung remesh kasi we already tried it sa refine. So ayan, basically, it's much more easier to manipulate kasi parang it adds more divisions na hindi ganun kabigat. So, ayan. So, yeah, you can continue to try to sculpt this according sa ating reference like this. Kunyari, naka-extend siya or nakababa. And then you can add some nuts if you want. So, again, even though ano tayo dito, sa sculpt pa tayo dito, you can continually add extra objects from Maya and then import it to Mudbox. Okay, for now, we're gonna stop here and then we're gonna send this to Maya. So I'm just gonna name a couple of things. So dito, let's name this inner A. This one is inner Choco B. This one is gonna be chocolate outer. And then this is going to be, wala siya dito. Okay. This is going to be caramel, kunyari. Okay. Now we can select all of these and then go to our file and then send to Maya and then send as new scene. Okay. So here I'm just gonna click on send meshes at current level. And then I'm gonna click no, don't save, and then import all of our Mudbox model into our Maya scene. Okay, so first thing I need to do, I want to create a portrait, parang poster of this. So I'm gonna go to my render settings, and then here we can see ang width natin and height is 960 by 540. Ang gagawin ko lang, i-reverse ko lang to. So I'm gonna copy this and then paste this here and then 540 dito sa taas. So gagawin niya kasi gagawa siya ng ating portrait na size sa pag-render. And then I'm gonna click on Open Arnold Render. So ito siya, nakadock siya dito. And then let's click play. As you can see, wala tayong makita. Now let's add lights to our scene. So yan na yung ating chocolate bar. Okay, so now let's add some HDRI here. So again, let's go to our website, Ambient CG. Try to find some environments. So our favorite ko is this one. I'm just gonna click on download and then open this up. So it's a download and siya. So I'm gonna select my Sky Dome here. I'm just gonna name this HDRI and then open the attribute editor and then open file and then open my HDRI here sa downloads. So here, yeah, ito siya. This is what I downloaded from Ambient CG, and then click open and then yan yung chocolate natin. You can also try out other HDRI. So yan, ito yung ibang dinownload ko. I think it's the same then, ata. And then you can also try to manipulate yung lighting. You can try to rotate it. As you can see, and ito mas maganda yung tama ng light natin. And then para mag-disappear siya, you can select the dome and then here sa ating attributes, make the camera set to 0. Para siya, hindi siya kita. And then now we can add another Arnold light again, Sky Dome. Here I'm gonna make this background, so BG. And then I'm gonna make it go reddish, dark reddish. Yan. Okay. So now let's try to create some chocolate texture over here. So siguro din dito I'm gonna type in 0.5 and then let's add some chocolate texture. So I'm gonna open my hypershade. Okay, here So, I'm just going to delete all yung mga ating galing Mudbox. And then, yan, nakita nyo, wala na tayong texture. So, I'm gonna add a new Arnold dito, shader. So, here in our shader area na tab, I'm gonna press tab, and then I'm gonna type in AI standard surface. So, ito siya. So, yan. And then I'm gonna name this chocolate. So, double click, chocolate. And then I'm going to apply that here. So, yan. So, yan yung chocolate natin. And then, if you open your attribute editor, select your chocolate. Dito sa presets over here, I'm gonna set this to clay and then replace all. And then, ayan na itsura ng clay. So, here, I'm just gonna change the color to medyo lighter brown, as you can see. Yeah, medyo maganda yung ating pagka-brown here. We'll just enhance it later in Photoshop or Arnold as well. Yan. So, dito naman sa inner one, we can also add another texture. So, I'm gonna clear this area again. And then I'm gonna press tab. And then I'm gonna add another AI standard surface. Dito naman, I'm gonna double click inner chocolate. Yan. And then I'm gonna select my inner chocolate over here. And then select our chocolate. Yan here. And then I'm gonna first let's apply it para kita natin siya dito. Hindi siya nag-apply. So I'm gonna select this one, apply inner chocolate. Yan, apply na siya. And then let's select our inner chocolate. So presets. Let's set this to clay. Or you can also try honey. Ganyan itsura niya. So if we zoom in, may parang tayo, gummy na center. Kung ganyan yung gusto niyo, that's okay. You can now just open up the settings ng ating inner chocolate. I think it's under transmission or emission ata yung pag-color niya. Pero yan. For me, I don't want that. I'm gonna go back to the presets and change it to clay. And then here, gagawin ko parang medyo light brown or darker brown siya. Yan. So, it's up to you. Tapos, I think yung chocolate gagawin ko darker pa. So, yan. And then ito, I actually made a couple of files na experimental. You can download it sa Canvas. Pero for me, I'm gonna make a new caramel texture for this. So I'm gonna clear this out. And then I'm gonna press tab again. AI standard surface. And then I'm gonna name this caramel. And then let's select this and apply our caramel texture. Right click, assign material to selection. As you can see, yung default niya looks good already. You can also try other presets. For example, try nyo gold lang. Ngayon itsura ng gold, or you can try honey. So yan, may parang honey na siya siguro. You can also try siguro yung milk. And then if you change the color of the milk, hindi siya nag-ano. So kaya nga ang pinaka easiest to alter would be clay. And then just try to make it yung brownish. So kayo bahala. So yeah, I think siguro I can try muna honey. Yan. So para mukha siya malagkit na And then yeah, you continue to if you want, you can continue to alter this in Mudbox. isi-send mo lang back. So, go to File, Send to Mudbox, Update Current Scene, and then here sa caramel, if you want to modify it a little bit more, kunyari, extend natin to. Kunyari, let's grab this, extend natin siya. And then, ito rin, baba natin siya ganyan. So, if you want to update it, then go back, tas naka-apply na yung ano. I think, nag-update naman siya. So, here, yan. So, for example, you modified it in Mudbox again. You can go to File, and then Send to Maya, and then Update Current Scene. So, update natin siya. Now, it's updated. Yun nga lang, ang problema is if you update it again from Mudbox, it reapplies the texture from before. So, ang kailangan nyo lang gawin is just delete that one and then reapply yung caramel texture natin, and then ayan na yung ating texture, as you can see. Siguro dito in our inner chocolate, I don't know, I guess I need to experiment a little bit more on a couple of looks or sa texture natin. So yeah, pero I'll leave it up to you to try to design that on your own. And then yeah, basically here you can now try to make the image look better. So for here, I can go to my Arnold. Dito, if you click on this, we have access to a couple of post-production tools here for our Arnold. So I'm gonna click here, add an imager, and then add a color curves. Tapos here, sa color curves, para tong Photoshop, we can just make an S curve if you want. Yan. And then also add some here sa ating red. And then siguro try to reduce the blue. Yan. And then what we can do then as well is basically go to our outliner, yung background natin. Try natin to adjust to be darker. Yan. Tapos, if you want to add a couple of parang liquid chocolate here, you can go to a website, for example, Sketchfab. So I'm gonna go to sketchfab.com. So this one naman, free to sign up. So basically go to sketchfab.com and then just sign in using your Google. So it's free. So I'm gonna type in liquid. So ito, as you can see sa Liquid Splash, we can download this and incorporate it into our scene. So it's a free download. So I'm just gonna click on FBX. And then it's downloading into my computer. And now it's in my downloads. So here, when I click open under downloads, ito yung Liquid Splash, I can access it here. So now, habang open yung Finder ko dito or your Explorer on Windows, just click and drag it to your Maya scene, and then ayun na yung ating dito, liquid here. So again, you just need to move things around. So dito, I'll just move center pivot, tas usog ko lang siya sa taas. So basically, kayo na bahala mag-art direct kung paano yung scene niyo. What you can also do, by the way, is add a camera to your scene. So I'm gonna click here, create this cameras, one camera. I'm gonna rename this to render cam. And then I'm gonna press spacebar so that I have the 4 views. Here on my 4th view, I'm gonna click on panels, tas perspective, tas render camera. So here, I'm gonna try to frame my scene na. And then, para din makita mo yung frame ng portrait, I'm gonna click on this one. This one. Yan. this icon over here, which is resolution gate. So basically, ito yung nakikita ng ating render. And then here sa ating Arnold render, I'm gonna switch it to camera 1. And then, oops. Render camera pala. And then yan na yung nagagawa ng ating scene. So, let's try to rotate this. And masyado siguro malaki. So, you can try to create like a parang splash effect for your chocolate. So, natin siyang ganyan. Yan. And then, you can literally just select this. Maybe try to add caramels. As you can see, yan, ito yung itsura natin. And then, I guess, yung chocolate natin, you can add, you can group this together. So, Control G, make this smaller, and I guess, siguro, duplicate this. So basically, try nyo lang mag-compose ng ninyo, ng parang chocolate poster nyo if ever. So ayan. Anyway, ayan. So basically, I leave it up to you kung paano siya i-design. As you can see dito, we have our chocolate, our liquids, and then here our caramel as well. And then, siguro yung lighting, kayo na bahala if you want to modify it a little bit. It's up to you. And then, when you're finished, just save your Maya file and also your image. So I'm gonna save this image in my desktop, your last name, and then module number, and then also save your Maya file. You don't need to save your textures, just the Maya file. So just save it on the desktop, your last name, first name, and module number, and then save it as it is. So that's it. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me in our Canvas LMS, and I'll see you in the next class. Bye, guys.